Ladies and gentlemen, you do a little research on Lorenzo Lamas, and he has been coming into our living rooms for years. Falcon Crest, Renegade. He was also in Grease and, of course, Bold and the Beautiful and many, many others. He's written a brand new book called Renegade at Heart, an autobiography. Good morning, Lorenzo Lamas.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
We are great. How bold are you in this autobiography? Do you tell all?
I tell everything. It's just, it was my answer back to all the tabloid stories that have been written about me over the years. Not so much lately, but pretty much in the 80s and 90s, I was a fixture in those rags. And I never responded to any of the accusations because I just didn't want to perpetuate it. I didn't want to keep it going. I wanted it to go away. But, at 57 years of age, you come to a point in your life where, I don't want the record to show that I didn't respond.
Right.
So this is about all the marriages, the divorces, the career, everything that happened in my life that I felt was, interesting or notable, is in my book. And it's also a tribute to my father, who was and still is an amazing voice that speaks to me and helps to guide me, and it's in that Spanish accent.
Of course, your father was made famous again by Billy Crystal with the "You Are Marvelous."
You look marvelous.
You look marvelous.
Yeah, and actually, Jonathan Goldsmith, the man that plays the Dos Equis guy in the TV commercials, my father and Jonathan were very, very close friends. As a matter of fact, it was on Jonathan's boat that we tossed my father's ashes into the sea when he passed. So, I think Jonathan also was inspired by my father to come up with that character, the most interesting man in the world. So even though my dad's been gone, for 35 some odd years, his presence is still here with us.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's he definitely was bigger than life.
The book is called Renegade at Heart. Lorenzo Lamas, our guest. How much of the tabloid fodder would you say was true, and how much of it was completely fabricated?
Well, this is my feeling is the same as it was, 20 years ago, is that where there's smoke, there's fire. There's always something creates the interest in the magazine to run a story, and that something is smoke somewhere. Somebody heard something or they saw something, and then the story basically gets filled out, on the pages by the editing staff and the writers. But the fact is, I have been married 5 times. The fact is, I've been divorced 4 times. And the book really goes to try to explain to the reader what I was thinking, or maybe what I should have been thinking. So it's an honest. It's like a diary. It's a really straightforward read. I think it's fun. It's not heavy. The book is not like a 500-page novel. It's a couple hundred pages, and it goes by really quick. And
are there any Jane Wyman stories in the book?
Yeah, there's one particular story with Jane. Now, I respected the heck out of her. Here was a Academy Award-winning actress that I was doing a television series with, and she had no special demands. She didn't need a list of things to be in her dressing room every day. She just came to work prepared, knew her lines, and I basically learned from the best in terms of work ethic, that part. But I was in my 20s, and I had friends on the crew, and we partied. It was the 80s. Everybody was doing stuff and partying, and one day I thought I was finished with my work. I was wrapped at like 11 o'clock in the morning. I went up to my house. I lived nearby, and some of the guys from the crew came up, and during lunch, we did a couple of lines, and just kind of partied a little bit, and then the assistant director called my house about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he said, Lorenzo, you got to come back to the studio. Jane's here for the scene. I go, what scene? He goes, Lorenzo, you're working this afternoon. I go, what? And I was high. I was pretty high on alcohol, and did a couple of lines of coke and all that. And so I was so scared. Driving to the studio, I remember gripping the steering wheel of my Porsche and seeing the knuckles that were white. I was just petrified. And I got to the set, and Jane took one look at me and said, Lorenzo, you're not prepared, are you? And I said, no, Miss Wyman, I'm not. And she broke the crew, And she took me aside and she goes, "You know what? Your father would be ashamed of you right now." Oh, it just killed me. It just killed me. And I made a promise to myself at that point that I would never come to work messed up. I would not ever, 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 ever. And I didn't. And that was the kind of impression that she left on me.
She gave you a lashing. Okay, I do want to ask you really quickly, though, because I've been watching The Apprentice, and I really thought you were going to last to the end. But you were the team leader, and you couldn't take anyone else in the boardroom with you.
Yeah, I was the project manager for my last task, the task that I got fired for, and it was my responsibility to create, direct, write a commercial for a product, and the client just liked the other team's video better. And I just didn't feel in good faith I could bring anybody back, because really the responsibility lied with me. I was fully committed to this idea, and everybody on my team basically supported me. I just don't, in good faith, my charity is the Boot Campaign. It's a very noble charity that goes to help the troops when they come back from deployment. I couldn't very well, be a jerk, and bring Kate back, because it took too long for her hair to get done. I mean, how would I look, trying to blame a commercial that I directed on Kate plus 8. I couldn't do it.
That was honorable of you, I must say.
Lorenzo Lamas. The book is called Renegade at Heart. It's a tell-all autobiography, Renegade at Heart. Lorenzo Lamas, thanks for checking in. Be safe out there.
Thank you. Good talking to you guys.
You got it. Quick check, traffic and weather. Tim Weiland in the St. Louis